What's going on? It's Astronaut H, and this is the What More Do You Want Network. Now, in this video, I will be discussing tonight's game between the Chicago Bulls and Toronto Raptors play in game between the 9 and 10 matchup. And of course, if you don't know, the winner of this game moves on and plays against the Miami Heat for the 8th spot in the Eastern Conference to face off versus the Milwaukee Bucks. And the loser, unfortunately, their season ends after this game is over. So, of course, man, it's a lot to be said about this particular game because you have a team in Chicago who's, gone through a lot, for the course of the season, whether it was the Lonzo Ball situation with his injury and not returning and playing at all this year, to Zach LaVine's health, to DeMar DeRozan's health, Nikola Vucevic contract, and so on and so forth, acquiring Patrick Beverley, and just a turmoil of things to, magnitude the season or play out the season, so to speak. What they're going to do with Ayo, what they're going to do with Kobe White, Patrick Williams' progression. It's so many question marks with the Chicago Bulls. They give Billy Donovan an extension. So for them to be here, 10th spot, a chance to get in, of course you have to win. Of course you have to, move on, right? So we will see how things fare in that way. Now, for the Toronto Raptors, you have a team that basically hasn't performed to their capabilities with their talent, with having Fred VanVleet, having Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, who's in his second year, the acquisition of Jakob Poeltl, Chris Boucher, and so many, so many about with the Raptors, what are the chances they do keep Nick Nurse, and it's so many things. Of course, we know the Toronto fan base is going to come out and support and love their team no matter what. It should be a very exciting atmosphere. We know what to expect. If you are an NBA fan and you have seen games played up in Canada, in Toronto at this part of the season, the crowd is going to be very raucous, is going to be energetic. I feel like let me say this, if the Bulls want to, this is me speaking as a Bulls fan, if they want to win this game, they have to come out with a sense of urgency very, very early from the onset. I'm talking about you have to allow the leaders to lead in this basketball game. And I'm talking about going to Vucevic early, letting Zach LaVine cook early, allowing DeMar DeRozan to be in the flow of the game. And that's who I think is going to have one of his best games of the season. I think DeMar DeRozan is going to have a really, really big game tonight, returning back to a building where he's very familiar with, in a spot where he can really make a name for himself. Because, okay, the play-in is separate from the playoffs. So this is just a one-off, this is just a one-off. But if you perform well, you will be talked about in the papers the next day or on a Twitter sphere when the game is going on. But make no mistake, it's going to be tough. The Toronto Raptors have more than enough capable wing players / guards. We know what to expect from a guy like Fred VanVleet, but make no mistake, Fred VanVleet hasn't been, Fred VanVleet, if I could say that, right? His game has been a little up and down this year. Same thing could be said about Pascal Siakam. Same thing could be said about Scotty Barnes, but they have more than enough. We know what OG Anunoby is capable of because a lot of teams were vetting him during the trade deadline. He's a very good wing defender. That is going to be interesting to see what the matchups are with DeRozan, and LaVine, and who they elect to put on them at parts of the game. They might start out putting Barnes on LaVine or Anunoby on DeRozan or Siakam. It could go a lot of different ways. The matchup that I don't think a lot of people are going to talk about enough is Poeltl and Vucevic. That's going to be very, very, very important to how this game, I feel like the flow of the game, and also the bench. The Bulls bench and guard play from those guys coming off the bench, right? You have your Alex Caruso's, you have your Patrick Beverleys, you have your Ayo Dosunmu's, you have your Kobe Whites. Patrick Williams, I believe, should be a starter in tonight's matchup. I believe to counter what I feel like the Raptors are going to try to do versus your best two scorers, you got to put Patrick Williams in there to apply pressure to their wing players in the same breath. It's going to be, honestly, I know that the Raptors are a favorite. I believe, by 6 points. But if you were to ask me, it's a one-off, it's one game. The Bulls got a best chance of any because, like I said, yes, the Bulls have lost to the Raptors 2 out of the 3 times they played. But when you look at it, you have 2 guys that can go for 40 any night in DeRozan and Levine. You have a pretty sturdy bench, coupled that with adding Patrick Beverley, who I feel like is going to play at a level that we've come accustomed to over the last few years. Him going in the play-in situation with the Timberwolves a year ago, and we see how that went. So I believe Patrick Beverley could be not the X factor, but a player that makes his mark in this basketball game, defensively mainly. The Bulls, like I said, the Bulls with Drummond coming off the bench, they have a lot of things there. The key component, I believe the biggest X factor in this basketball game is going to come down to shots made from 3. Can the Bulls find a way to make threes? Can they find a way to make threes? If they do, if they find a way to make 3-point shots, keep the game relatively close, and could put together somehow, some way a win, then I see the Bulls winning this game. I see the Chicago Bulls winning this game. Now, the same things could be said about the Toronto Raptors. If they do what they've been accustomed to when they play in, certain levels of competition, we know, like I said, we know what their wings are capable of. I mean, they can go in there and defensively cause so many problems to Levine and DeRozan that our offense might just have to lean on Vucevic more. But I see situations where the Bulls could take advantage of throwing the ball into Vucevic early, getting a double team, kicking it out, and guys making open shots. Like I said, those guys are going to have to be the likes of Kobe White when he's in, DeRozan, Levine, guys like that, Patrick Williams, Patrick Beverley, Alex Caruso, because those guys are going to be open. The Alex Carusos and the Patrick Beverley, those guys are going to be open. It's going to be basically, I'm not going to let your best 2 guards, make and take shots. Let the others try to beat us. I feel like that's going to be the game plan by the Toronto Raptors. But the Chicago Bulls are in a position to, move on. I feel like this game is going to be a dogfight through and through. It's going to be one of those games where, not 2 teams that know each other fairly well, but they've played, and it can go either way. But I'm putting all my betting chips on the Chicago Bulls to gut out a win versus the Toronto Raptors. It's going to be fairly close. I see the game being low 100s. I'm thinking of something around 110, 110, 103. 110, 103 final score. I feel like the Chicago Bulls get it done versus the Toronto Raptors. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Chicago Bulls fans, Toronto Raptor fans, NBA fans, or if this is just your first time tuning into this channel, let me know what you think in the comments down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can know anytime a video is being uploaded to this channel. It's Astronaut H. This is the What More Do You Want Network, and I'll catch you guys on the next video. Go Bulls.